Hey all, welcome back to the Dark Finds channel, where every week we comb through the internet bringing you some of the creepiest cases breaking across the globe. If you like the sound of that, hit subscribe now so you won't miss an episode. And likewise, if there's any crazy cases, creepy cases, kind of cases that are going under the radar, link them in the comments, talk about them in the comments. We'll turn this into an active community in the comment section of all the crazy cases, so none of us never miss a beat. Anyway, on to the first one. So the first case is actually very close to home to me. It's in Ireland, and it's in the news this week because the trial has or the man just got sentenced. The trial was ongoing this week, but I'll give you some backstory on the case here first. So on Christmas Eve, 2021, and I'm going to butcher this name, but Bahaalddin Alshwawrah, he was 45, brutally murdered his wife, Zinette Bababasha. She was 42 in their home in Enniscorry, County Wicklow, Ireland. County Wicklow in Ireland is known as the Garden of Ireland. It's a beautiful area, but obviously this was a horrific crime that ended up happening here. So after stabbing her 14 times, he filmed her dying, telling someone over the phone, "I hope she dies." Now, that's fairly grim. Like, there's a level of malice here, or kind of almost psychopathy going on. To be that unremorseful, we hear some cases of people, they'll commit a murder and there's a kind of an instant regret, or, they have some contrition, but with this case, it definitely wasn't a case of that. So Zinette, she was a mother of 5. She'd previously obtained a barring order against her husband in 2018 after claiming he stabbed her before. I want to pause again, because and you hear this trauma bonding. I know the Diddy trial is going on at the minute, and you're hearing a lot about trauma bonding and, why didn't Cassie escape? You'll hear Stockholm syndrome. You'll hear loads of stuff, but Jesus, this is a red flag, to have. If he stabbed her before and then she got back with him, you just kind of have to wonder why. And obviously there's some psychological pull here or mechanisms that we don't really understand, because, stabbing someone and then getting back with them is fairly wild. But I don't really have a theory on that. I just think it's, you just hear it so commonly, battered wife syndrome, all this. So there's obviously something going on that draws them back. That's an interesting one to me anyway. But anyway, despite this, she remained vulnerable in the relationship. The court heard that Alshwawrah suspected her of having an affair and sent a video of her death to another man with the message, "I killed my wife." He claimed to have been previously abused by his wife. I doubt that very much, but there is no evidence supported this. Instead, the Gardaí presented a pattern of control and aggression throughout their marriage. He had prior convictions in Jordan. Okay, so that's where he was from, Jordan. I was thinking that wasn't an Irish name for violent offences. So obviously he came Ireland, and that same pattern of violence persisted. And unfortunately for his wife, she ended up dead. In court, he expressed remorse in a letter, apologising to his children and stating that he could never forgive himself. I don't know if I believe that fully. It's probably to get a minimised sentence, but, whatever. That's for the jury to decide, or the kind of judge to figure out if it's just a sentence, if he's trying to reduce his sentence. Can't talk today. However, Mr. Justice Hunt described the killing as irredeemable. I agree with that, and sentenced Alshwawrah to life imprisonment, which in Ireland, actually, to pause here as well, is not like what you'll have in the US, where it's actually life means life. In Ireland, I think it's 25 years. So if you hear life imprisonment, they still could be out after 20 years, after 15 years on parole, but it's not life. So just looking at some of the other evidence on the case, he banged on the window of a neighbour's house, shouting that he'd killed his wife, before he walked calmly back into his house and rang someone on his mobile phone. 2 neighbours entered the house, where they observed his wife slumped on the floor in the corner of the kitchen with multiple stab wounds to her torso. So again, the minute you hear someone calmly did something which is really egregious and violent, like that's really raising them psychopathy stakes. Uh, yeah, sounds like a psychopath. And yeah, he's got life. Thank God he's not out in the streets causing more harm. But yeah, wild case, only coming like that was 4 years ago. It's crazy how slow things move in the court system. But I suppose the wife, she finally got to the justice she deserved, and so did her family. So on to the next case. Okay, so this next one is in Australia. I'm just going to read out the headline because it's fairly horrible, really. Failed trader savagely murders mum to impress famous girlfriend, but makes one huge error. So Andre Rebelo was drowning in debt. Information that he hid from his influencer girlfriend. So he came up with a shocking plan to make money that ended in a brutal tragedy. Buckle up for this one. So they were a couple with a seemingly enviable life. It was 2020, and Andre Rebelo was a crypto trader, and his girlfriend of several years was a social media influencer and model, Gracie Piscopo, who had more than 1 million Instagram followers. Okay. They had a son together and shared their glamorous lifestyle with their fans online. Rebelo and Gracie lived in a rented luxury home in Perth, Australia. They enjoyed lavish overseas holidays and drove expensive cars. Probably all for social media, I imagine, because, showing off to strangers about how good you're doing means everything. Anyway, let me keep going. I'm not going to keep going rants and tangents here. So Rebelo had been a supermarket delivery driver who everyone believed had built his wealth from a crypto trading empire. But he was hiding a secret. He told everyone he was coming into 500,000, so $500,000, due to his success of his business. But guess what? That was a lie. In reality, he was trading for around 3 years. He was in 100 grand of debt and struggling to provide what was needed to keep the appearance of his extravagant lifestyle. Oh my God, like the narcissism here. It's just, I'll never, like, the people online and on social media that would go out of their way to show strangers that they're living really well just boggles my mind. And I think that, like, that's, I guarantee it's this narcissism, or else it's just crumbling level of self-esteem that has just kind of try and bolster it up through material possessions and wealth, and to be perceived as doing good, maybe because he's crumbling inside. I don't know. But anyway, I'll keep going with the story. So Gracie was unaware of the extreme debt, of course, as Rebelo handled their finances. While she earned money as an influencer with growing popularity, the price of their lifestyle was going up, and the cost too. And Rebelo was running out of time to pay off his debt. So there's obviously a sense of urgency here that's going to culminate in a big tragedy. On the 25th of May, 2020, so this is right through COVID times, hell, Rebelo's brother Fabian, 23, was concerned when his mum, Colleen, 58, didn't pick him up from work at 2 p.m. as planned. Fabian lived with his mum while his older three siblings, including Rebelo, had left the home. So Fabian tried to call his mum, and when there was no answer, he walked into their home. I thought it said Bitcoin there. I thought it said Bitcoin. It says Bicton. Must be a place in Port. Maybe it's a suburb or a town. He could hear that the shower was running in the ensuite bathroom, but Colleen did not reply when called out. Worried, he entered the bathroom and found his mum slumped on her knees under the running water. He called the emergency services and performed CPR, but she was pronounced dead at the scene by paramedics. Okay, so where is this going? What did Andre do? Colleen's cause of death was undetermined, but it wasn't considered suspicious despite her being healthy. She'd been found wearing mascara, gold jewellery in the shower, which was unusual. The shower mat was draped over the side of the bath as well, but her death was put down to natural causes. 3 days after the death, Rebelo tried to claim on her life insurance. Collectively, the three policies were worth more than 1.1 million. Jesus. And shockingly, despite having three siblings, he appeared to be the sole beneficiary. This guy is an idiot. He particularly pursued one policy that was worth 500,000, the exact amount he had told Gracie that was coming in from the trading. An insurance company employee grew suspicious, thank God for that employee, as they asked for more paperwork. Rebelo provided fake copies of the coroner's report. Oh, Jesus, this guy is just digging such a hole, honestly. That said Colleen's death was an aneurysm, a fake report from his mum's psychologist, and a forged copy of her will that again named his as the sole beneficiary. The insurance company contacted the police and alerted them that to Rebelo's behaviour. Investigators discovered that Rebelo had taken out 3 policies on his mom in her name in the week. Oh, Jesus, this guy is such an idiot. In the week before she had died. So let's try and recap here. 3 policies the week before she dies. He's the sole beneficiary of them all. He's the sole beneficiary of the will. Like, how do these people think they're going to get away with it? It's just like, have to not watch true crime stuff. This stuff always comes to the light. But look, we'll keep going. We'll keep powering on. After initially denying seeing his mom the day of her death, his phone records placed him in the house for an hour, just 2 hours before she was found in the shower. He eventually said he'd had a coffee, and when he'd left, she was alive. Yeah, I'm sure she was. The police discovered Rebelo was heavily in debt, and he'd been using loans and credit cards to keep up the pretense of wealth. Debt collectors had been pursuing him, and there was an ongoing struggle to pay the rent on their home he shared with Gracie and their son. So in October 2020, again, COVID times, he was charged with forgery offences. Then in November 2022, there was enough evidence to charge him with his mum's murder. By the time he took trial in 2020, Grace and Rebelo had ended their relationship. She wasn't accused of any wrongdoing. Okay, so it was just solely on him. He was obviously living this double life. Pressure coming in, had to keep the mask on. The only way to do that was to kill his mother, which is absolutely egregious. Actually hard to believe the length some people will go, to keep up whatever that false perception they have. But anyway, at the trial, Rebelo denied killing his mom, but on the first day he pleaded guilty to 4 counts of attempt to defraud the insurance company and admitted to forging documents to try get a payout from one policy. He claimed that he was doing it to help his siblings get the money. Jesus Christ, the lies and the subterfuge. Because he feared his mom had taken her life and that he would have made the policies void, or that would have made the policy void. Anyway, the prosecution said that he had murdered his mom because he needed the money to cover his lies and maintain the illusion of his wealth. And the illusion there is the big operative word. They alleged he'd only ever made $22 in all his crypto. Oh, God, I'm going to have to read this again. They alleged he'd only ever made $22, capitalize that, in all of his crypto trades. So this guy was a washout. They said his pursuit of his plastic existence, I like that actually, that's a good term, plastic existence, which was played out in social media, led him to murder. And we see that. I've seen a few cases like this. Now there was a Twitch streamer, I can't use my words again, which I actually might do one. That was up to Northern Ireland. But continuing on, to the outside world, they were rich and beautiful, but the truth was different, the prosecution said. They showed the court that Rebelo had created an email address in his mom's name and taken out 3 policies between the 18th and 20th of May. Okay, this is going to keep repeating probably. After an 8-week trial, Rebelo, 29, was found guilty. In April 2025, which has just gone, he was sentenced to a minimum of 25 years in prison. Rebelo's sentences were backdated to November 22nd, 2022, when he was taken into custody. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. What have we learned from this case? Oh, Jesus, So this guy is obviously, he made $22 and was saying he was making $500,000. And I think in the article there, I think it sums it up nicely with the plastic lifestyle. You know, there's nothing real about this. There's nothing real about his relationship. If he had to make up these stories and kill his mother to keep going with the facade, like, you know, it must have been on shaky ground. It was all just facade. It was all just like superficial. But look, it's a tragedy. That poor mother. My heart goes out to the family. You know, that's really shocking. Imagine them 3 other siblings trying to understand that our brother killed our mother because he wanted to keep up some appearance of being a successful trader when he was just a washout. Anyway, give us your thoughts in the comments below. This one is dark. So this next case is so depraved it boggles the mind. I'll read out the headline. It's inside grisly human butchery ring that made £300,000 from live castrations and cooking testicles. Yeah, and you heard that right. 6 members of a depraved human butchery enterprise were sent to prison for between 4 and 22 years, but instead of showing remorse, they appealed their sentences, and that's why it's back in the news this week. A twisted gang of eunuch makers whose leader kept his penis in a drawer have shown little remorse for their sick crimes and even appealed the length of their sentences. So Gustavson, the eunuch maker, who was the ringleader of this gang, was found guilty of carrying out depraved body modifications, including removal of penises, testicles, and legs. These bloody operations were mostly carried out in his North London flat or at rented apartments and hotels, sometimes using ordinary household implements rather than surgical equipment, causing great distress to its victims. I can only imagine, and I actually don't want to even imagine. Many of the grotesque surgeries were filmed and uploaded at Gustafson's eunuch maker website, where some 22,841 like-minded subscribers across the globe would pay to watch the gruesome content. My God. Ugh. Over the course of 4 years, Gustavson made nearly 300k and was involved in at least 30 procedures linked to a subculture known as nullus. Anyone heard that before? Nullus, N-U-L-L-O-S. An abbreviation for genital nullification, okay, ugh, whereby men have their penises and testicles removed. Why? I cannot understand that. Why? Oh, Jesus, like, what has to go, like, what wires have to cross in the brain to want that? Users of the site could even pay for VIP access price to watch a live penis amputation take place, while penises were put up for online auction with a buy it now button. Oh God, like eBay, buy it now. Detailing the disturbing footage made available to anyone who had the inclination, prosecutor Caroline Carberry said users used to pay to subscribe or buy individual videos. There is evidence the victims were promised a sum of money from the video revenue. Gustavson recruited like-minded individuals to assist him in his large-scale, dangerous and disturbing enterprise. I'm not even going to read any more of this case. It's just too grim, and I just cannot understand that level of psychology or behavior or anything really. Give us your thoughts below. This one is, I don't think people died, but it's just grim and it's depraved anyway. Right, we'll go on to the next video. Okay, last case. We're going to get into it. So a sick body snatcher who dressed up mummified remains of 29 girls as dolls will remain locked up in a psychiatric hospital, a Russian court has ruled. So Anatoly Moskvin, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Mosvkin, Moskvin, 55, turned the dead children into dolls, dressing them in stockings, clothes and knee-length boots. He was arrested in 2011 when a series of desecrated graves of girls aged between 3 and 11 led to a months-long manhunt across Novgorod, Russia. When cops searched the flat Moskvin shared with his parents, they discovered the body of 29 girls. Each had been mummified, dressed in children's clothes, and arranged like dolls in his home. Like, this guy was a seriously sick person. It reminds me of that kind of Albert Fish. Oh no, was it? No, Ed Gein. Ed Gein. He was that kind of. There was lampshades made out of faces and stuff like that. But the former academic, I think he was a historian, claimed that he practiced black magic and believed that he could one day revive the children using science. Yeah, sure, mate. Now 35, he's been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, I think among probably a list of other things, and was ruled unfit to stand trial in 2011. He's been held in a secure Russian psychiatric unit ever since, despite several pleas made from Moskvin's lawyer. A Russian court has now confirmed that the sick man would remain under forced detention. His term was extended after the chief physician of the psychiatric hospital filed a petition against his relief, possibly due to his behavior. Now, we don't know what the behavior is, but I can imagine this guy ain't going to reform. Like, if you're out there, like, just think of this. You're out there digging up graves, bringing the dead body of a child back home, mummifying it, dressing it up, and almost displaying it like a doll. Like, what sort of psychology, what sort of darkness is in you to be doing that? Like, yes, paranoid schizophrenia and all that, but like, many paranoid schizophrenics aren't going around doing this behavior. There's something far more insidious and far darker that's underpinning that. And yes, like, you'll probably see theories online that it's, you've had them with Dahmer, Gacy to an extent, that were lonely or just wanted kind of company, and almost this mummification. I know with Dahmer, it was more like creating zombies. He wanted like zombies. I think he drilled into one victim's head and like poured acid in. And you kind of see the same with this. It's like almost, there's some void anyway has been filled with this mummification. And it's quite gross and disgusting. But anyway, give us your thoughts below. We've been across the globe there, breaking stories, some kind of just, their trials or its cases, with a new update. But let me know if I've probably missed lots of cases. I can't cover them all, of course. But yeah, do put any cases in the comment section. You can take a look. I'll try to get another video up during the week. But yeah, thanks all for your time. And again, please subscribe if you haven't already. Cheers.